Why y'all there? Lord have mercy, what a blessing. I'm Dan, and I'd like to welcome everyone to my home in the sticks. Wherever you are at in the world, I hope you're having a great week and everything's good with you. Before we get started on today's video, I always like to say that if you are new to this channel, I want to welcome you. And if you returning just to see what old Dan's got going on over her, that's your enough thank you for coming back. What I want to share with you and y'all today is, Lord of mercy, today we are going to plant us an indeterminate tomato in a rather small space. So let's go. Dan, we finna do what? We are going to plant us an indeterminate tomato, and the difference between an indeterminate and a determinate tomato is the indeterminate tomato gets tall and a determinate tomato or tomato plant gets bushy. So we're going to plant us a tall tomato plant in something that was sent out to me. And I'm going to say this, I reached out to Vego Garden, person that I speak to all the time via email. What's the chances of Vego Garden sending me out another tomato planter, self-watering tomato planter with the trellis system? What's the chances of getting another one of those so I can show how to plant a large tomato plant or grow a large tomato plant in a small space? And of course, emailed me right away or right back, and they was like, Dan, that ain't gonna be a problem. What color do you want? And there it is, was delivered a couple of days ago. So a few weeks ago, I did a video on Vego Garden's self-watering tomato planter and did an unboxing on that. So we're not gonna do another unboxing, but we are gonna talk about a few things that were brought up or some questions that were asked to me via email. So yeah, I'm gonna point you down and let's see if we can answer those questions. First question was, Dan, what's the difference between a wicking bed system and a self-watering planter? There's actually no difference at all other than the design. If we look at the bottom of this planter, you see that there are a lot of holes, and those cup-shaped holes there. There's one there and there's one there. These legs have slits in them. And what happens is, when we place this back into the container, these two holes right here are sitting inside of the container where water is going to be. Once the water reaches a certain level, and that's going to be probably somewhere about right here, it will start overflowing, allowing this planter to only hold a certain amount of water. And that's basically the gist of it. So when your soil dries out, which it never will if you have water inside of this container, as the soil dries, it will wick up water into the soil, thus feeding the plant. And that's where you get your terms wicking bed or self-watering planter. That's basically all it is. It's just a really easy concept where you don't have to water, but you do have to make sure that water is inside of this container. So that's something that you have to do. Another big question had to do with this overflow or this valve in the back of this container, and it's marked 0, 30, 60, 90. What happens is, if you want to keep this container at full capacity with water, you leave it at 90. If you want to drain it off and keep it at a quarter full, we're going to put it on 30. If we want to drain it all the way, we just go to 0, and this whole thing, all the water inside of this container will drain out through this tube. I like to run mine at about 60, so that's almost, I want to say, maybe 3/4 full. So yeah, it's worked for me. But that's how that works. Had a few questions regarding this right here, because this is a different setup. Most wicking bed systems or self-watering systems just have a tube that is drilled into the container at a certain height. And once the water gets up to that height, it can't go past that tube, and it starts overflowing. So you don't fill your whole wicking bed up with water. Okay, let's talk about the tomato plant that we are going to plant into this Vego Garden planter. The tomato plant is an indeterminate species, and it is a early girl. Now, a lot of gardeners, at least the ones that I know, don't like planting a large tomato plant in a container such as this. The main reason why is they grow tall and they go wild. Most folks will want to plant a determinate tomato plant in a container such as this because it just gets big and bushy. But the thing about it is, if you trellis your tomato properly, you can grow a huge, huge tomato plant in a small growing system like this. And by trellis, I mean trellis like this right here, with some tomato clips and string. It'll work, and it will work. So let's get this tomato plant in this planter and get it growing. The growing medium that I have in this container is a 50-50 mix of Bacto premium potting soil and some Pro Mix potting soil. So this is a light, airy mix. It's got a lot of perlite in it, and it's going to drain really good. And we're going to add some fertilizer to this, and then we're going to get this tomato planted. I'm going to plant this tomato plant really deep, but before I put the tomato plant in this hole, I'm going to spread in some fertilizer, and all this is some Job's organic tomato fertilizer and some calcium nitrate. I'm going to sprinkle this fertilizer into that hole, and we're going to cover that fertilizer up because we don't want the roots to come directly into contact with that fertilizer. The roots look good. Set it down in the hole, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to backfill this hole. Okay, the only thing we have left to do is we're going to use our Vego Garden hose reel, and we're just going to get this guy watered in. Now, the thing about wicking beds or self-watering planters is you have to water these guys in good the first time, because you want that water to go all the way through that soil. So we're going to water this tomato plant in really good. All right, let's take a look. There's our early girl tomato plant, planted in the Vego Garden self-watering planter. I added the trellis as well. So we're going to get this girl to grow. And as it gets a little bit bigger, I'll start trellising this tomato plant up, and then that'll allow it to go straight up. And this trellis system is 3 foot tall, so we have a lot of room to grow this big old tomato plant. Well, all right, that's what I wanted to share with you and y'all today. Yes, indeed. Yes, you can. You can grow an indeterminate tomato plant in a very small planter, a very small space, if you do it right. And when I say right, using the trellis system, be it a trellis system built onto the planter, or simply using some string and some tomato clips. You can get that tomato plant to grow tall, and it's going to grow good if you trellis it up correctly. So again, I hope everybody's having a show enough good week, and I hope everybody's staying safe amid this crisis that's still going on. If you like this video, go and give it a thumbs up to help. You haven't subscribed to the Home of Six channel, Lord of Mercy. Y'all need to come over here and give a damn look, because I'm always doing stuff like growing big tomato plants in a Vego Garden self-watering planter. With that being said, you know what's coming down, referee show enough. Always gonna say it. Don't let nobody dull your shine. And I mean nobody. You sure enough get your shine on, put your hands in the dirt, get your grow on. And Dan will see you and y'all in the next video.